I'm probably going to piss some people off when I say this, but social media and influencer culture has normalized overconsumption like never before. It is not normal to do a activewear haul every couple of weeks with a full bag of brand new clothes. It is not normal to own a designer luxury handbag. It's not normal to spend $300 at Mecca on a new serum. It is not normal to go to the hairdressers every week for a blow wave. It's also not normal to go to Bali 3 times a year for a retreat. It's also not normal to go out for brunch multiple times a week. None of that's normal. Now, if you like doing these things, that's totally okay, but we probably shouldn't normalize them and make it the standard because that's just not the case. Going overseas used to be a luxury. Buying a new outfit was for a special occasion. And spending hundreds of dollars on skincare just absolutely is not the norm. So if you're watching on the other side of the screen and you're feeling bad because you don't have endless amounts of parcels coming in the mail, really expensive skincare and makeup products, or all the beauty treatments you see online, remember it's not normal.
Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, and if this is your first time here, hello, welcome. This is Essential Patience and I am Patience, and in today's video we are going to be talking about the opportunity cost of overconsumption. So opportunity cost is all about when you pick something, you inevitably choose not to pick something else. So what is the opportunity cost of overconsumption? Well, there's so many, and so today we're going to delve right in and explore it so that we can make good decisions for ourselves. But before we get to this video, be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and ring the notification bell so you do not miss out on any of my future videos, because on this channel we have discussions about society's impacts on our lives, our finances, and how we can take back that power to live more intentional lives and to make more intentional financial decisions that will lead us on a path of financial independence and financial freedom. So if that sounds good, go ahead and stick around. Let's delve in. In a world driven by consumerism, the tendency to overspend and accumulate material possession is widespread. Advertisements, social media, and cultural norms encourage the pursuit of the latest gadgets, fashion trends, and luxury goods, often at the expense of long-term financial well-being. And this culture of overconsumerism comes with a significant opportunity cost. This includes sacrificing savings, financial independence, and the ability to achieve mindful goals. So when we understand how we fall into these overconsumerism traps, we can understand a way to build a life that we can be financially secure in, making sure that we are prioritizing our goals, our finances, rather than material goods. Let us first start with the nature of overconsumerism today by exploring the definition of overconsumption. Overconsumption is a tendency to buy more than what we need, and this is often driven by emotional, social, and even psychological factors. And in this modern world that we live in, it is exacerbated because of all these must-have items, things you can't live without, things that everybody is getting. Just the advertisements of like limited time offers, it gives us this emotion that if we don't get it now, we're never ever going to get it in the future, and everybody has it, so why not us? And social media and advertisement continue to market this life full of upgrades and glamorizes it, because everybody has a 200-inch TV, why not you? Everybody has the latest iPhone, why not you? Everybody has the latest computer, why not you? And because of that, a lot of people fall into overconsumption. Take for example the Stanley madness. It was not enough to have just one Stanley, because that was normal. People were collecting a lot of Stanleys, 20, 30 Stanleys, which literally negated the point of having a reusable water bottle. It was to limit the overconsumption of plastic and to use the water bottles over and over again, because that's the point of a reusable water bottle. But people fell into this trap of getting all the colors, all the kind, all the limited edition, the Valentine's Day version, the Target version. It was just too much. In this environment, overspending becomes normalized, leading to diminished savings, impulse financial decisions, and ultimately a cycle of debt. So let's talk about the consequences of overconsumption and what we are missing out when we choose to overconsume versus actually saving money. And the first one is decreasing in savings rates. After we came out of the 2020 tragedy, as I will call it, we saw a lot of people fall into traps of overconsumption overconsumption, even when it comes to experiences, because people have been in for so long, they were ready to just get out. And even when it comes to, say, celebrity concerts, people were going to concerts after concerts after concerts, something they would have probably never done. And the prices had increased, sometimes 2 to 3, even fourfold to what it was prior to the world shutting down. But people were just so excited to be out that even to this day, they're still buying a bunch of concert tickets and going to so many concerts because of the whole FOMO, you only live once. But the result of this is just decreased savings rate. And Americans have such a low savings rate currently that it is really, really sad to see. Because even though we're in a time of economic difficulty, we should be spending less. But we see that Americans are spending more and more, not just on necessities, but also on discretionary items and on entertainment and things that bring us joy. But sometimes it's not even about just bringing us joy, but it's things that will make us part of what society seems to be over consuming in. But this leads not just to low savings rate, because if that was it, I mean, it's still a problem, but a major problem is probably number 2, which is the cycle of debt. A lot of people do not have this money to be spending so much on discretionary spending. So what does that lead to? A cycle of debt. And we can see this in the rise of payday loans, rise of buy now, pay laters, and the rise of a lot of predatory lenders. You can watch my video on calling out payday lenders, but you would hear payday lenders such as Empower, Albert, Dave, and so much more now lending people a lot of money. And it's a cycle of debt because these interest rates are 3, 4, 5, 600% on payday loans. But also the rising buy now and pay later. People are spending money they don't have because they believe they can pay it off in 4 to 10 installment loans. And these loans might seem little, but as time goes on, they add up so much. So if you do buy now pay later for every single thing you purchase, each week or bi-weekly or monthly, they're taking money from your accounts. And before you know it, you have so many of them, and you would realize that you actually don't have the money to purchase anything because you've already spent all of your future income. Which leads to number 3, is that you're just going to accumulate a lot of credit payments, not just on credit cards, because credit cards are also very expensive. If you purchase something for $100 and use a credit card, and it's money that you don't have, and you do this on a 39% credit card, so not only are you paying the $100, you're also paying the interest rate on it. So instead, you're paying about $139 on that item because you didn't have that money. So if you're purchasing with money that you don't have, you're essentially accumulating a bunch of credit payments. And this can lead to hundreds and even tens of thousands of credit card payments and interest you pay on buy now pay laters, as well as predatory lenders such as payday lenders. But one of the major opportunity costs is missing out on opportunities that can allow you to actually build wealth, raise your standard of living, and even experiences for the future, because you're just not ready because you spent all your money now. So for example, home ownership. When you are about to buy a home, it takes a lot of years of work for most people, which includes saving down for a down payment. That does not happen overnight or even over a year's period. And unless you have families or friends that would help you with the down payment, most of us will have to save for it ourselves. So as you're spending all this money that you don't have, you're essentially saying no to saving for a down payment, and that's an opportunity cost. You're also saying no to save for retirement. If you're not maxing out your Roth IRA, but instead choosing to spend that $7,000 per year, which is $583 per month on eating out, you essentially say no to retirement or early retirement because you're spending that money now on going out, eating out, having a good time because you only live once. And while that is true, what is also true is that the real life expectancy of the average American is about 77 years old. For women, it's about 80. For men, it's about 74, 75. You're saying no to retiring early, and you might just have to spend your later years in life working because you just never said no to the now to save for the future and say yes to financial freedom and to retirement savings. And when you don't invest in your future, you will think, I can always do it, I can always do it. But you can also go on my channel and you can watch the video where we review the call of the 72-year-old woman, or maybe she was 73, and she had nothing in retirement savings. She was 72, still working, planning on retiring in the next 5 years. And she also had $12,000 in student loan debt. And all she had to probably rely on was her Social Security, even though that's not guaranteed. But luckily for her, she's in an age that's so close, she'll probably end up getting it. And she didn't even have a house because all her life she had spent everything she made and never saved for the future. So much so that 72 years old now is when she's thinking about retirement and buying a house. And that was just so sad to see. So never think it can't be you. If you fail to save now and you say yes to frivolous items, you're going to be in your 60s and 70s wondering how you're going to retire while all your peers have retired and living a life of rest. And something that is really good to know about overconsumption is the psychological and social drivers. What causes us to overconsume? The first one, of course, is impulse purchasing. And I wish I could say that I never fall for this, but that is absolutely not true. We can fall for this based on emotional triggers as well as boredom and even stress. This can all trigger us to go on and consume on things that we never even planned to buy. I know I've had situations where I was working like 60 hours a week and I was going to school, and when that was over, I was just so tired. I was like, you know what, let me just go to the mall just to walk around, because I've been inside my house for too long with just at work, school, and I go out and then I purchase these things that I never even planned to purchase. The good thing is I do tend to cut it off after like $100, and it happens not too often, and because I do have a splurge budget, it will typically just go into that splurge budget. But for some people, they're just buying hundreds of thousands of dollars, and it's on a regular basis, and they cannot afford these things. So when you do know that, if when you get stressed, you tend to go and impulsively shop, whether online, whether in person, maybe when you get emotional or just feel bored, you tend to go window shopping and then end up purchasing a whole bunch of things that you don't need. You have to find different ways to cope, better hobbies to cope with. And I know that for one thing, this YouTube channel is a great hobby to keep me away from shopping, as well as just being mindful about what my future goals actually are and prioritizing my future goals. But we're all human. We can all fall into impulse purchasing. It's not an excuse to continue doing it and derailing our financial future, because we're all human. We have to find ways to do better and be better. Another social driver is the influence of social media. People are spending too much time on social media. Now there are people spending 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours a day on social media, and they're consuming so much, and psychologically they're comparing themselves to other people that they don't know. They are looking at what people have and wondering how they can have it as well, and this leads to wanting more and craving things that you otherwise would not even purchase. I mean, look around your house, your environment, look at your clothes. What have I purchased that if it wasn't because of social media, I would not even get it? Some people are also following this aesthetics, for example, with clothes, the overconsumption of clothes and these aesthetics. Oh, the it girl aesthetics, the coquette aesthetics, the boss babe aesthetics, the mob wife aesthetics. Like every few weeks there's this new aesthetic, and so people are like out with the old, new comes in, and then new costs so much money, hundreds to thousands of dollars to fit this aesthetic. You all, that is not real life. That only works on social media. When I go out, I don't go, oh, that person is certainly mob wife aesthetics. People just seem to be wearing regular clothes to me. So don't let your life be on social media, because social media in real life, and for most of the real world, does not even look alike. And I'm not saying that social media and the real world doesn't blend, because they do, but for the most part, nobody cares, and nobody will see and be like, oh, she is certainly the it girl aesthetics. I have never been walking down the street and ever said that, so nobody really cares that much. The next trigger is FOMO, the fear of missing out. You can also do YOLO, you only live once, and a lot of people just take this and then decide that because of that, they will not save any money. No, because they don't know if there's going to be a tomorrow. Let me tell you something. The longer you live, the more likely you are to even live longer. And God forbid, I don't live till I'm 50 years old. I would still hope to leave some money for my children. I would still hope to live a financially good life, because I'm a steward of my finances, not somebody who's just going to waste it. I would hope to leave something to my family members so that they can live a better life, even if I'm no longer here. So this ideology that the only way to only live once is to blow all of your money is really not a good idea. It's just a frivolous way of thinking. There's so many things that you can experience that does not require you to be broke. There's so many things that you would not be able to experience because you are broke and because you do not save for tomorrow. You might be able to go on mini vacations here and there because you only live once, but you probably would not be able to experience a luxury vacation that you saved for because you just never had the will to save for a lot of money, so that in the future you can take a very nice luxury vacation. And just like that, 72-year-old woman, if you don't save for the future, you probably will reach your old age without experiencing home ownership because you never had the discipline to save money for the future and even for retirement. So you see people in their 60s, 70s, and even 80s still working because they never had that financial discipline to save more than just for the now. And they never had the foresight to think beyond the future. They were young as well, and they probably also said YOLO FOMO. But I'm sure a lot of them, and when you talk to a lot of them, they wish they could go back and make better financial decisions. And let's talk about one more social driver, which is cultural pressure. The pressure that even though nobody says it to you, sometimes people do say it to you, but even when nobody says it to you, you feel the need to participate in whatever is going on culturally. For example, getting an iPhone. I think over 70% of Americans own an iPhone, and you get left out because you don't have an iPhone, so you feel the pressure to trade in your perfectly good phone that maybe costs a couple of $100s to buy a phone that is over $1,000 because of that social pressure. And once you get into it, now you feel the need to keep up with it over and over again. Each year, the same version of the same phone comes out, but because this is a 14 and this 16, you want to upgrade to the 16. I don't even know what version they are on now. I am still on my first iPhone, which is the iPhone 14 Pro Max, and I'm going to be keeping it for several years. I do not care what anybody says. And sometimes I look back and think about the over $1,000 I spent on this phone, and I'm thinking, was it even worth it? Because people didn't want to see a blue box. Okay, I've fallen for that social pressure too. I'm a victim. I should be compensated. And one saying that has really stuck with me is that you wouldn't care what people said if you realize how little time they spend thinking about you. Yeah, nobody's really sitting there thinking about you like, oh, Alex, that Alex girl, you know what? I don't like her clothes. I don't like her shoes. I don't like her. Like, no, most people do not have that unhealthy obsession. Most people are just so engrossed in their own life. They don't even think about you but for a couple of seconds per day. Nobody's just really sitting there just spending hours thinking about how you could be better in your life. I mean, maybe except for your parents, but that's about it. Nobody else cares that much. So don't try to do it for people. Don't spend money you don't have to buy things you don't need to impress people who you don't even know or don't even like, or they don't even like you. Focus on yourself and what your actual needs are and what your financial goals are. Now, when it's time to talk solutions, I always like to talk solutions in these cases because we've identified the problem and delved deeper into what is happening, but what are some solutions to doing better and to being better? I know for one, the first one is setting financial goals. If you don't have financial goals, you probably wouldn't have any great reason that why as to do better. So why do you want to do better? I remember a couple of years ago when I was paying off my car, that was my why I wanted to save, why I cut off so much of my discretionary spending, because I wanted to be debt free. And the only thing standing between me and debt free is that car payment. So I decided to pay it off, and now I am free from that car payment, and it has been so great ever since. Now I have new financial goals. I one day want to be a homeowner. What is standing between me and being a homeowner is a down payment. What's standing between me and retirement is having enough money to retire. So having those financial goals and understanding your why and really internalizing it will give you the will to do better. But if you have no financial goals, short or long term, you are not going to be able to stay the course. Don't let other people just pressure you into it. Find the reasons why you want to do better. I know for one thing, I want to have kids in the future, and I don't want them to feel the pressure to take care of me when I'm older. I want to take care of myself, and I want them to go out and do good. I want to be able to pay off their college and have them be debt free. I want to be able to pay for their weddings and give them a down payment on a house. And because I want to do all of those things, I have to plan for a better future where I can actually be financially successful to do those things. And once you have your financial goals, be sure to create a budget. That's the second thing. Create a budget and live by that budget. A realistic budget, you all. Do not create one that is just writing a few things together of what you think your expenses are. Track your expenses and see how much am I spending, and then decide, okay, this is what it is for now, but let's say you're spending $500 a month on groceries just for yourself. That's a lot of money. So you can decide, I'm going to do a 3-month plan where this month I do spend $500 because that's my current habits, but next month I'm going to go down to $400, and then I'm going to go down to $300. I'm going to stay at $300, which would be a good budget for one person. Okay, and that's what you work towards. Also work towards other costs. Do not forget to add gifts in there, because most of us purchase gifts for people, whether it's wedding gifts, birthday gifts. Have a gift budget. Create a space in your budget for things that you actually do, and for some discretionary spending, and for some splurge spending. I have a video on budgeting for splurge, so if you want to know how to do so, go watch that video. But create a realistic budget that is not just who you are currently, but who you want to be. The third thing is about learning self-control and delayed gratification. One of my favorite Bible verses is, "No discipline seems pleasant. In time it yields a harvest of righteousness by those who have been disciplined by it." I've said it probably over 100 times on this channel, but I've learned the art of delayed gratification, and let me tell you, it pays off. When I went through college and I could not live on campus, I could not have the experience of living on my own. I still lived at home. I took 3 buses to school, and then I later switched to 1 bus and 2 trains, and it took me anywhere from an hour to 2 hours to go to school. Every time I think about it, it is so emotional, and I know I've shared this so many times on this channel, but those were 4 years of delayed gratification, so that I could graduate debt-free, be able to move on my life without having to pay student loan debt. And it was not easy waking up to commute for an 8 a.m. class, and then staying at school till sometimes 7:30, because that's when my last class ended, and then coming home and then doing chores and then having a part-time job. That was not easy. I can now afford to live in my own place. I can afford my financial goals because I now do not have the burden of student loan debt. And even currently now, I am working full-time while going to school part-time, and I don't have the freedom to do everything that I want to do. But it's all about delayed gratification, because I know within a few semesters I'll be done and my time will be my own, and I will reap the benefits of that level of sacrifice that I made. So even though it is not fun, think long term. Don't just think about the now. Think about long term. When I was thinking about getting my master's degree, I was thinking about, oh, I just graduated from college. I want to have time off to travel, to get things done and really settle into my life. And while that is true, I also thought about the future as to how to set myself up for the future. I was like, if I buckle down and get my master's degree now, I would be done in, say, spring of 2026. I'll still be 25 years old, almost 26. But then I would have the freedom, because I've already spent the time to set myself apart from the competition for the most part, because a lot of people, a lot of engineers have bachelor's degree, but how many of them have master's degree? A very small percentage. So after I've already set myself apart, I'm putting myself in positions for promotions, for job growth. And because of those increases again, I would even have a greater level of experience, and I'll be older, so I really know what I actually want. So that comforts me in being able to sacrifice my 23, 24, and some of my 25 to go to school. And number 4 is to adapt a minimalist mindset. When you are trying to improve your finances, it's not just about making more, it's about needing less and wanting less as well.
I became minimal-ish by asking myself this one question. Let's get into it. Before I had my life figured out, I used to spend hours tidying my house. It was never ending. I would come home from work and spend all evening cleaning. Every weekend, I was cleaning, and it was exhausting. It was like I could never get ahead. Then I started living what I call minimal-ish. I got rid of clutter and excess, and I never looked back. How did I do it? I asked myself one question. The problem a lot of people face when trying to declutter is they ask themselves, do I need it? That's the wrong question to ask. If backed into a corner, you can find a need for literally anything. No. Instead, the right question to ask is, can I live without it? I started carrying a box around the house, and I would ask myself that question all the time. Can I live without it? Yep, I was donating items left and right. If you're fed up with the state of your house, become minimal-ish by asking yourself that question. Can I live without it?
So when you're able to adapt a minimalist mindset, it's not just great for your finances, but also for your actual mind, because living in an overcrowded place is not good. And if you've seen my home tours of my last apartment and this apartment, you would know I'm somewhat of a minimalist, and I tend not to overconsume on furniture and things that I have in my room. I don't even have a dresser because I don't want a bunch of clutter. I want to be able to freely move in places. I don't want a bunch of things. Whenever I want to bring something into my home, I have to think, what is this going to do for me? How much do I like this? How much is this going to improve my life? If it's really not, and it's not going to bring me joy for time to come, and I think this is just going to be something that takes up space, I don't allow it to come into my home. I don't allow it to have space in my finances, and to be the opportunity cost between that and actually saving for something that would bring me a greater level of joy. So adapt to minimalist mindset. Try to find ways to want less and to need less. And when you do that, you will be able to save more. And one of my biggest solutions that I always recommend is educating yourself on finances and becoming financially literate. That is one of the biggest things that is separating people from what they actually need and what they actually need to be doing to set themselves up for financial success in the future. The lack of financial literacy in America is astounding. And a lot of people say, oh, I never learned this in school, but let's be truthful. You learn math in school. You can do basic math of, I have this amount of money coming in every month. These are my expenses. Am I living way above my means? Not to mention that today with social media, with the internet right at our fingertips, financial literacy is in abundance. A lot of people know where to find what they actually want. So if they wanted financial literacy, they could find it on the internet. But the truth is, a lot of people don't see it as entertaining. And I, for one, definitely know it, because even though this is somewhat of a lifestyle channel, it's mostly based on financial literacy. And it's not one of those niches that is very popular. So our growth has been very, very slow. But I can see more people coming in now appreciating this topic. I started learning about finances when I was about 16 years old and I had my first job. Nobody had to sit me down and teach me about financial literacy. I went out and learned it by myself, even before I started my job. So I learned how to budget. And then as time has gone on, I've learned more and more ways to better my budget and to better my finances. So if you want that information and watching this video, know that all this information is out there, including on my channel, and you can find the information you need to make good financial decisions. So watch my personal finance series and you'll be able to get so much information on how to get better with finances. The information now is free. It's literally free. If anybody's trying to charge you for it, I'll say you can still find great information out there for free, so you don't have to pay for it, but it's out there. And if you want it, you can find it, including on this channel. And the last solution that I'm proposing is limiting yourself to exposure and marketing and just being influenced. When we are on social media all the time, we're being influenced. Surround yourself with people who are not trying to sell you anything, with information and with channels that are not trying to sell you anything. Like my channel, I have absolutely nothing to sell you, not even a course, okay? All this information is free. Start listening to financial podcasts, start reading books. Find different ways to spend your time rather than just being on social media, where a lot of people have a lot of things to sell you. And when you're able to do this, you're building a life of intentionality and of financial freedom. And so by reducing overconsumption, individuals can free up resources to focus on what truly matters: financial security, meaningful experience, long-term goals, living with intentionality, and making deliberate choices about spending and aligning those choices with personal values. Redirecting funds from unnecessary purchasing towards savings, investments, or debt repayment creates a foundation of financial independence over time. And this approach allows for greater freedom, reduced stress, and the ability to enjoy life, and without the burden of excessive financial obligations. And to bring this topic to a conclusion, when you say yes to things that you don't need or things that you just want, you are saying no to financial freedom, to financial independence, building an emergency fund, to saving for retirement. The opportunity cost of overconsumption is profound, affecting savings, financial independence, and overall well-being. Breaking free from the cycle of overspending requires mindfulness, discipline, and commitment to living intentionally. And by adopting habits such as budgeting, delayed gratification, and focus on financial goals, individuals can overcome the pitfalls of overconsumption and build a life of security and purpose. The path of financial freedom begins with recognizing that true wealth is not just about your material possessions that you accumulate, but the freedom and opportunities you can create by managing your resources wisely. So go out there and manage it. Be a good steward of your money and your resources. And with that, bringing this video to an end. Thank you all so much. Let me know in the comment section, have you fallen for the pitfalls of overconsumption and what has it cost you? I know that it has definitely cost me being further ahead in my savings, but the great thing is that I recognize that and I keep making those changes so that I can be better in the future. If this video added value to your life, be sure to like it, subscribe to my channel if you have not already, and ring the notification bell so you do not miss out on any of my future videos. Also, be sure to share this video with somebody who you know can benefit from it. I think a lot of us are still growing our finances and in our journey of recognizing what we need versus what is overconsumption. So a lot of people can benefit from it. So please share it as well. I deeply appreciate it. Thank you all again, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.